set out at a pretty good pace. It wasn't too fast. It was a little bit faster than the pace that we wanted to run. We wanted to try and run 3:10 per kilometer, and the first kilometer was probably about 3:05, and every 5K after that we were supposed to be trying to run about 15:10, and we were running about 15 minutes for the first 20K or so, so we were a little bit faster.
All of the traffic and the crowd control wasn't really very good. It was very difficult to continue and maintain your concentration when there's so much happening around you. But I think that's what you have to be able to do. You have to be very single-minded and almost block out every other thing from your mind and just concentrate on what you're doing. And as a result, you know, I can't really remember any stage being flustered or being concerned about the traffic or the crowd, although there were certainly stages in the race where they really interfered. Once or twice we had to actually physically charge our way through the crowd to get back onto the course.
You're out there and you're trying to beat each other, but at the same time you feel empathy with the other runners because you're all going through the same thing. And it is sort of a brotherhood, and you pass the water bottle back and forth, and it's a good feeling, to know that even though you're trying to compete against somebody hard, at the same time you kind of want him to do good also.
Sure, you probably have to push yourself or be prepared to push yourself through barriers of pain. The biggest pain that you have to try and work yourself through is just the incredible weariness and the incredible fatigue that sort of envelopes you like a cloud. It's like one of those dreams where you're moving in slow motion and everything else is going past at normal speed and you just can't keep up, and you feel like you're in molasses.
About the halfway point, the guy who had been setting the pace dropped back, and I think he dropped out of the race. And I was still feeling good at that stage in the race, and yet I knew that if somebody didn't start to press very soon, that we weren't going to have a chance of getting the record because we were already slower than record pace by about 20 seconds at that point.
I think you really need to concentrate on achieving little goals. You certainly, I don't feel, should become totally introverted and draw within yourself during the race, because I think you dwell on little things such as, how your feet are, if you're losing a toenail or you've got a blister or you've got a stitch or your muscles are sore or something. You've got to while you've got to monitor those things, you can't afford to let them become too dominant a feeling. Alberto seemed really very intense, and he almost seemed almost trance-like at some stages during the race. He was almost totally withdrawing within himself, whereas I was just trying to relax mentally and physically.
Robert started pressing the pace with about 5 miles to go or so, and with probably a little less than 4 miles to go, he really, and up to that point, it felt like it was starting to strain me a bit, but at the same time, I thought that I'd be able to stay up. There was only 3 or 4 miles to go, but then he really picked it up and he really sprinted up a hill, and he just kept going after that. And I went with him for about a half mile or so, and I was waiting for him to slow down but I knew at that point that if they didn't slow down, there was no way I could keep up. So I was just hoping they were going to slow down, but unfortunately they didn't, and they started to pull away. And At that point, a lot of things ran through my head because in the last 2 or 3 years, nobody's ever pulled away from me during the race. It's only been at the very finish, you know, in the last quarter mile or so that anyone's ever pulled away from me. And so I knew I was in trouble.
It wasn't until several kilometres or 2 or 3 kilometres later that I realised that we'd broken away, Lopez and I, and we were the only two left. Everybody else had been dropped off.
There was no way that I could have kept up. There's absolutely no way. The last 3 miles, I just fell back, and even though I've run almost 2 minutes faster on that day, there was no way that I could have run any faster, you know, or that I could have stayed up with Castella and Lopez. I knew that it was over, that there was no way I was going to catch him.
But that whole last 5 kilometres, he was right on my shoulder or running right by my side. I was just trying everything to get rid of him, and he was just hanging there almost like a shadow. He wasn't prepared to take the lead. Even once or twice I eased the pace back to try and get him to do some leading, and he just eased back too. And I wasn't sure whether he was tired, whether he was struggling a little bit and he was grateful that the pace had slowed, or whether he was just super confident that he'd be able to kick past me at the finish over the last 100 metres or so. 1,000 metres to go, and he was still there, and I was picking the pace up more and more. 500 metres to go, and he was still there, and I was saying, "Crikey, is he going to just sprint off and leave me like a rocket, or is it going to be neck and neck right down to the line, or what?" With about only a couple of 100 metres to go, I just sensed that he'd just lost that little bit of contact that he had with me. And as soon as I sensed that, I really picked up and I really put everything I had into it. Even as I crossed the finish line, I didn't know where he was.